All right, everybody, welcome to the Growth Mastermind Group Zoom call, hosted every Sunday at 8 p.m. Eastern Time by myself, Tony, and Peter. Today we have Kimberly Carson-Richards. As always, we do just a little brief introduction in case you guys weren't aware. So Kimberly is an international #1 best-selling author, public speaking instructor, and certified life and business coach. She helps entrepreneurs systemize their client acquisition and monetize their stage opportunities so they have the time and energy to focus on doing the things they're the most passionate about. She has spoken on over 200 stages, both online and offline, and loves to nerd out on social media strategies and algorithms. Kim is also a 3-time nominee for both an Alberta Woman Entrepreneur and RBC Woman Entrepreneur Award as a woman who inspires and motivates. So with that, we give you Kimberly.
Hello, thank you for having me. I'm super excited. It always, whenever someone reads my bio, I'm like, oh, that sounds like someone else. Is that me?
It's impressive as heck. It's like, whoa, like, wow, that's a lot of, okay.
Yeah, no, I love collecting accomplishments, right? So thank you for having me. I'm excited, guys. Ask me all the questions. Let's do this.
Let's do it. So I had a couple questions here, and then Peter, if you want, just interject and, ask whatever, you'd like. So the first thing I want to ask is to tell us a little bit more about, because you have all these different things and accomplishments and different titles. So just kind of a little bit about how you got on the path to being all these things, and and a little bit more about your background.
Sure, love it. So my journey, life often is, my journey into entrepreneurship was literally like the universe just like smacked me into a brick wall. But before I tell you about that particular experience, let me share more about me. So I've been a mom since I was 14 years old, and that's very much a foundation of who I am and why I strive so hard to create success for myself. My mom was also a teen mom, so I was kind of repeating this cycle. And when my son was born, I really intentionally set a goal for myself that I wanted to break this cycle that was happening in my family. I didn't want to be poor for the rest of my life. And I didn't want my son to have to struggle to achieve the things that he really wanted, because at that point, all the things that I wanted felt very much out of reach, right? Like it was gonna be really expensive to go to school. Now I'm in high school and I have a little kid to look after. I moved away from my mom when I was 16. So her and I didn't see eye to eye on parenting. And so I moved on. So I was in an apartment, I was finishing high school. I actually had a part-time job in a bank where I worked 2 days a week in addition to make some money. And so I was always just very like, where's the next goal? I want to accomplish the next goal. So like the first goal was finish high school. Then it was go to university, because I had just heard that if you had a degree, you would make more money, right?
Me too.
But I never really knew what I wanted to be when I grew up. So I just, you follow this kind of path and you fall into things where you feel the least resistance. And so when I graduated from university, I kind of fell into retail, and I loved the challenge. I loved sales. Even though I'm super introvert, I actually really like dealing with people. I loved being a manager. I kind of like really telling people like what to do. It's like one of my superpowers. And so I went from like part-time salesperson at a Canadian retailer, worked my way up to management, jumped ship to another company to their corporate office. And so I was in corporate for 6 years. Same thing, like I was working my way up the ladder, as we're kind of like taught to do, right? Like chase the raise, go for the next highest responsibility thing. And so I was actually a furniture buyer. So I did really cool things. Like I was going to Vietnam and China and sourcing furniture, designing furniture.
Wow.
And then one day I had this thing happen, right? Because you always have this idea, like we envision what's going to happen next, even though you don't know for sure if that's what's going to happen. And my career path that I had so clearly envisioned for myself was being like stumped. So my boss was saying, we need you to go do this job because we have a problem and we need you to be our problem solver. And I was like, but it's not what I want to do. Like this is not my next step. Like this was never like in my plan. It wasn't what I envisioned. And he just kept kind of like every Friday he would come in and ruin my weekend for like 6 weeks and be like, so is your answer a yes? And I would be, no, it's a no. Until it got to the point where he was like, well, if you're going to continue working here, this is your only option. And so I said, okay, then I don't continue working here. And I came home one day and I had a conversation with my husband and I said, I'm just so unhappy. I can't envision how I continue working here. And he said, well, I want you to be happy. Do what you need to do. So in the middle of a recession, I handed in 4 weeks notice. And I didn't really know entrepreneurship was going to be the next thing on my journey. So I started doing, as I would always do, is look, what's going to make my resume look really amazing? And I found this great coaching program. And as I researched the industry more, and saw that it was one of the fastest growing industries in the world, I was like, there's something here. And the funny thing is I had kind of been coaching people my whole life. Like when I worked at corporate, my first job was order desk. So I'd be like, yeah, hey, Felice from Whirlpool, we need like 400 washers and like 375 dryers. And how's your relationship with your boyfriend going? Like, I know you guys were having some problems. And I'd be like coaching her via email. And so I started my first business. So I like just literally, so I thought I knew everything, right? I had been doing sales, I had been doing marketing, right? I had been doing all these things. And what I had no idea was that entrepreneurship is completely different. It's just like, so like 180 degrees different from being in corporate. And so I started my first business. And I like Google searched how to build a website, and I Google searched how to start my first Facebook page. And I thought, okay, I'm going to launch a website. I'm going to build my page, and then the clients will come. like I just like had this like misconception that was all I needed were these two assets, and that people were just going to like line up and be ready to work with me. And so I launched, and I had all my friends and family were like, hey, this is so amazing. But nothing happened. No one was like, hey, how do I work with you? How can you solve my problems? So then I thought the next thing's like, okay, I know, like I had been doing a little bit of public speaking training in corporate. That would be a great way to get in front of people. So I'm going to go and I'm just going to share my story. And so the very first time I'd ever shared my story about being a teen mom was at the first event I held. And I like poured my heart out, and I gave them some amazing information and content on how do you achieve goals? How do you create success? And nobody lined up to work with me. And I was like, okay, like that didn't work. I know I'm going to get on more stages. So then I started getting on other people's stages, and I was doing more of my own stages, right? So the definition of insanity is keep doing the same thing over and over again. That's not working. So it's probably about 15 stages in when my now business partner was like, well, Kim, what are you offering people? Like, how are you showing them what the next step is? And so what I understood was the tactic of speaking, but what I didn't know yet, because you don't know what you don't know until you know it, is that there needs to be a strategy when you're speaking, and that your objective is to show people what's the next step in this journey that we're going to take together. Once you've connected with them and they understand that you have the solution to the problem that they're having, you need to like lead them and guide them to, okay, here's how we work together. And so that was 3 years ago. When she said that, that was such a light bulb moment for me. And so I started working with coaches that could show me exactly the strategy behind doing really amazing speaking presentations as an entrepreneur. Because it's so different than like, yes, you can get up and inspire and motivate, but if you really want your audience to turn into your paying clients, there's a strategy behind it. And I fell in love with it. And so what ended up happening was that lady, Kat, my business partner, we ended up working together, and we started a business together. And then about a year in, because like we didn't do really great niching, and about a year in, what happened was so many people were asking us, because I've been on over 200 stages, Kat's probably been on 500. And so collectively we've sold over $1.8 million in products and services from stage, because she does contract selling for other coaches. They were saying like, teach me, tell me how to do this. How do I do this for myself? Because I don't know how to get clients. Right? Or I'm putting myself out there, but nothing's happening. I'm speaking and speaking, nothing's happening. It's not actually growing my business, because a lot of entrepreneurs think all you need is the exposure. Just like, if I just get enough exposure, then people will just ask how to work with me. And it just doesn't work that way. Like, yeah, you'll get a few people, but not like, if you want that systemization of like monetizing what you just like time after time after time, you need that system in place. And so that's kind of what got me here to here. So the end of this month will be my 3-year anniversary since I just like quit that 9 to 5 like steady income job. And I have created 4 businesses in that 3 years. So I love it. Wow. I love being an entrepreneur, as I'm sure all of you do, right? There's nothing like it, and I will never go back to a 9 to 5 job. I just couldn't imagine it.
That's incredible. So right now you're running a part of 4 different businesses?
Well, I retired a couple of them as we started really focusing on, so Profitable Impact Academy is the name of our business now. And that has niched in. So we started a company, and it was a membership platform, and we were working so hard. Now, the one thing that was working was the speaking, but we hadn't done a really great job in like identifying and niching down to how we can help people. So we were just like, hey, all their entrepreneurs come, we're going to solve all your problems, right? And so we didn't have like a really clear message. And we were hustling so hard to fill this $100 a month membership platform, basically working like 4 full-time jobs. And what happened is I actually ended up getting sick. So about a year ago, I suffered from a brain bleed in my sleep. There was no cause. I had not had a brain injury. I literally just went to sleep one night and I woke up in the morning and things weren't okay. And Kat and I were actually together in another city. We had gone to another city for a business conference. So I was away from home. I wasn't close to my spouse or my family. And Kat rushed me to the hospital. And at first they thought I was maybe having a stroke. Then the doctor came in and said, well, maybe it might be MS. And then it was a CT scan and MRI later. They found this tiny, like a bit of blood, the size of a top of a pin, like a sewing pin.
Yeah.
And it had forced basically the muscles in my eyes shut down and my eyes had turned away from each other. And the only thing that would fix it was time. And it's interesting because for a lot of entrepreneurs, time is something that comes up a lot, right? Like, how do I manage my time? How do I spend my time? Right? So here I am. I cannot get off my couch for 4 weeks, and Kat has to run our entire business, which, remember, I said was like 4 full-time jobs at that point. And we were just like, this is not working and something has to change. And so, we did a lot of kind of soul searching and looking at, okay, what were the things that were working and what were the things that people were really asking us about? What were the things that they really wanted to learn from us? And when we looked at it, it was the strategy behind speaking. And so we like niched in hard. We run an event, it's called Profitable Speaker Bootcamp, where we show entrepreneurs exactly what we've learned. And we take them through the business model of like, how do you go from now speaking in front of a group of people like this to getting them into your funnel, to making them your raving friends, to turning them into your paying clients, right? And so time is something really valuable to me for that reason, because it was, as I'm on my way to the hospital, not knowing what's going on, I wasn't thinking to myself, man, like, I wish I had sent one more email or DM'd that person or even like cleaned my dishes. It was, man, I really wish I would have had more time with my family because I don't know what's happening right now. I don't know if I'm okay or not okay. I don't know if I'm like deathly ill or not, right? I don't know if this has been a stroke. And so that's why I've become so passionate about working with other entrepreneurs, because I know a lot of them, and maybe you, are hustling really, really hard and giving all of your time to the business, and it may not be working as quickly as you need, and it's taking your time away from the things that are really important, whether it's family or, for my business partner, travel is her number one core value. So for her, she really likes to travel a lot, right? We all have different reasons of the freedom we want from our business. And so that's why I'm like, okay, here is the thing. Like, my business is growing hard and fast because of speaking. I want your business to grow hard and fast too. I want you to have more time doing the things you love. Like, it's so important. So important. Our time here, we don't know when our clock's gonna, just be out of time. So
that's really interesting. And so do you think you've gotten more, I guess, like revenue or more profitability for your business from like the stages you've spoken on, whether online or in person, or more from like digital marketing efforts, would you say? Or maybe it's just like 50-50 or?
Okay, that's a really great question. So when I talk about speaking, people are always like, oh, you must be saying you hate digital marketing. No, actually, I totally geek out on Facebook algorithms. I love digital marketing. But digital is like a longer term game. So I can get in front of a group of, say, 40 people. If 10 of them buy my $12,000 mastermind, I've made more revenue in like a 3-day event than most people make in an entire year in their business as an entrepreneur, right? But the digital is really great for filling the event, right? For creating the first step in the customer journey for people who have never met me before. For reinforcing and adding value into the world. We do a weekly Facebook Live show. So people can go, and then we take that content, we put it on YouTube so people can go binge watch, and get a ton of value before they ever make the decision that they want to buy. Because that's the thing, a lot of people, they'll meet you for the first time. the next thing they'll do is they'll go Google search you.
Yeah.
And they'll find your Facebook profile. And then from there, they'll go to your business page, and maybe they'll go to YouTube if you have a YouTube channel, right? So all of those pieces of digital assets are such an important piece of like your entire suite of, exposure. But speaking is the one thing that we have done that converts the fastest. And it's interesting because in marketing, they kind of talk about this number where it could take between 6 and 12 touch points, right?
Yeah.
Before someone makes the decision to buy, because you got to create that emotional connection.
Yeah.
If I get up and I give a 60 or 90 minute profitable signature talk, I could convert someone into my high ticket offer in 60 or 90 minutes. Right? On the first go round. So we've had people that come to our 3-day event that have never met us before. So they went webinar, event, mastermind, 3 touch points. Amazing. Right? Imagine now you're hustling and you're pumping out digital content, trying to get those like dozen touch points when you could go webinar, event, mastermind. That's why I'm so passionate about it. Like, it just cuts down that cycle. It cuts it down so fast. It's crazy. It's crazy. But again, it's because you get the opportunity to create the emotional connection with someone, give them a ton of value, and then have them see that you have the solution they've been looking for, right? That they've been hustling so hard trying to figure out the thing that works. And you're like literally, here's the thing that works. Let me show you how. You don't have to continue hustling. You don't have to, spend all your time and feeling like you're not getting any payoff because the financial abundance isn't rolling. Right. So I love it. I love it.
Yeah. It's almost like a shortcut, if you will, in a way.
Here's the thing, you guys, like, speaking as a marketing tool is not new. It is, in fact, one of like the oldest marketing strategy in the world. Like, let's look at Tony Robbins. Why do you think he does so many events? Because he's got this like on lockdown, right? Yeah. Like Jim Rohn was one of the first people. Like Tony Robbins worked for Jim Rohn, right? Like he went around hustling and selling tickets to Jim Rohn events. Like this works so well. If you look at all the biggest coaches in the industry, right? This is what they do. But it's almost like there's this kind of new layer of people coming through, getting this like awakening of, oh, okay, this like really works. Like, now how do I do it? How do I make it fit into my business model with the things I've already been doing so that I can get to my goals faster, right? And it's amazing. And I love it too, because like maybe you've heard the quote, like Warren Buffett talks about how public speaking and investing in the skill of speaking is the best thing you can do for yourself, that it will increase your lifetime value, like earning of like income by 50%. Right. And he's like really open about how a Dale Carnegie course was like the best thing he ever did for himself. And yet for so many people, it's like their number one fear. So they won't even think about tackling the skill. And it's just a skill. It's not, people are not innately born good speakers. I have people say that to me all the time, like, oh, you're such a natural speaker. You must have been born that way. No, like back in my corporate, so you got like back in my corporate days, I had to make these really complex product assortment presentations to like store managers and like the president of the company. And before I had done any training, I once got up in the front of a room. There was probably like 50 people there from like, different levels of the corporation. And I gave an entire 20-minute presentation on like literally a single breath. I'm not even kidding. I was so nervous. I just got to the front. I took one, like the biggest breath I could take. And I just started talking and going as fast as I could to get it all out. Cause it was like, I forgot to breathe. I was so scared. I forgot to breathe. And well, what starts happening is you go into shock, right? Like so your hands and your knees are shaking and your voice is quivering. You almost sound like you're going to start crying. But the funny thing was one of my, cohorts, one of my peers, he came up to me and said, man, he's like, that was a really good presentation. He's like, but you were just talking really fast. Really fast. Yeah. Right. And I was like, well, it's because I thought I was going to pass out. I was just trying to get all the information out before I hit the ground. Right. But it got me thinking, okay, well, maybe if I invest a little bit of my time into like learning the skill and learning how to control my fear, there's something behind this. Right. And so for a lot of people, once you just learn how to control the fear, because here's the thing, fear and excitement are exactly the same thing from a physiological perspective, the way your body responds, right? Like think if you're into things like, rides and roller coasters or even more extreme sports like skydiving, the way your body reacts, like your heart accelerates, right? So blood is pumping differently through your fingers and your toes, and all these weird things are happening. But the big difference is the thoughts you're having. So in one case, you're like, this is so much fun, right? Like, oh my God, this is like the best time ever. And on the other hand, when you're afraid, you're like, oh, this sucks. Why did I agree to do this? I should just call them and tell them I'm sick, right? I'm never doing this again. So if you just take a little bit of time to learn how to, one, control your thoughts, because as an entrepreneur mindset's a huge thing. And two, just control the physiological response, right? Like losing your breath a little bit doesn't have to be a bad thing. Just take a nice deep breath, calm yourself down, keep going, right? You got it. And then practice makes perfect. So yeah, this is a skill. This is a skill just like anything else in your business, just like sales and marketing, right? Just like networking. This is something that you can learn and conquer that will help you. And it's interesting because like if you conquer the skill of public speaking, it helps you in all of your communications, right?
Yeah.
It changes the way you create emails to send out to your list. It changes the way you have conversations with potential clients. It changes the way you ask for a sale because you just feel really confident. You feel confident in your body, in your space, in the value of what you offer. Because every time you conquer something you're afraid of, it creates proof for your brain that anything is possible, right? And so like I said, it's interesting. Like they did this big study in the US, you may have heard of it. They said like public speaking is the #1 fear for most people. Spiders and snakes, and then death. So like most people don't even fear death as much as they fear public speaking. I just think that's crazy. It's like, no, you learn to love it. You learn to love it. So
that is kind of wild.
Yes, love it. Everybody is like, fear is my friend. Yes, love it. I was like, fuck fear. Yes. That's actually the name of my book, just so you know. I don't read it out because I know some people don't like the F word, but yeah, totally. Love it. So good. Love it.
And that's something I could totally relate to. I spent a year working as a quality assurance analyst. And part of my position is I would have to go to new class hires, so like brand new employees that are still in the training process, and do like a live seminar, like a live presentation. But it was like really boring stuff. It was going over like policy and procedure. So I had like a PowerPoint behind me, and like common mistakes I would do is like I would rely too much on the PowerPoint. So like the head trainer, she'd be like, "Hey, Tony, you did really good. Couple things. Number one, slow it down. You talk really fast," which in Miami, like Hispanic population, we kind of talk a little bit fast, So number one was that, slow it down. And number two, don't rely so much on the PowerPoint, engage with your audience. But then it's like one thing that, especially in the beginning, I struggled with, like, who do I look at? It's like, I look around, I see all these eyes on me. And I think that's where the nervousness comes from. It's like, I don't know who to look at. And then you get some people looking kind of bored. One guy would be like almost half asleep. Somebody's like doodling, like, okay, am I boring everybody? Like, how do I get their attention? And is this stuff that you teach, like how to do this stuff? Or
so yeah, in boot camp we do, and in our mastermind as well, we do advanced speaking techniques. And so you guys, so like right here, right now, I'm saying eye contact is one of the most powerful things you can do as a speaker. And yes, it's hard. So when you're on stage, especially if you're live, now actually it's really, so here's one of the things that's great about Zoom calls is if you just like look right at your camera, people feel like you're making eye contact with them. If you're at a live event, it's harder because you're looking right at people. And the reason it's so hard for a lot of people is because you are being very vulnerable, right? Eye contact is human connection. And a lot of people, when you're already feeling kind of vulnerable because you're putting yourself out there as a speaker, then you throw in like making eye contact. It's a very vulnerable experience. But we do this exercise at our live events where we actually get people to come up one by one, and they have to make eye contact with everyone in the room. And it's interesting because you can see how, as the person on the receiving end, it actually takes a little bit longer, right? When you're the speaker, you have to look just a little bit longer and make eye contact with the person for the connection to happen than it, than it does when we're kind of in casual conversation. And when you get people at the back, it's even a little bit harder, right? Depending on the size of your room. That's why often when you're at live events, you'll find the room will be wide across. So they have less people further back because it's actually easier, right? If you can work the stage and just go side to side, than if you have people really far back and away. And if you wear glasses, it's a little bit harder. So even right now, I can see I got a little reflection from my lights on the glasses, right? So when you're, depending on what the lighting is like, especially like hotel banquet rooms, the lighting always sucks. So if you have glasses, it can take a little bit longer, but it's one of the most important things you will do. And so practicing, like if you have a few members of your family, it feels so weird, but just getting them to sit in front of you and just make eye contact with them. Or if you have like kids, if they have stuffed animals, right? Just practicing making eye contact with the animals. Because anytime you replicate an act, like a movement, what happens, it creates a habit for your brain, right? And including like visualization. So if you know you're going to be speaking at an event and you visualize and you think about it going really well, and that you're making eye contact with people and you're creating that connection, because our brain doesn't actually know the difference between a memory of something that's happened already and a visualization of something that's happening in the future. And so a big mistake that a lot of people make when they're new speakers is we sit there and we think about all the things that could go wrong, right? Like, this is going to go horribly bad. I'm probably going to fall off the stage. I'm going to forget what I want to say. Like, a lot of people think that I'm going to forget what I'm going to say, and I'm going to go blank, and I'm going to stand there. No, you have to sit there and force your brain to think about all the things that are going to go right? Like, this is going to go great, and people are going to be engaged, and because then you're creating that muscle memory for your brain. It's almost like you're creating proof that it's going to be okay, instead of creating doubt that everything's going to go wrong. And honestly, that's a great skill for anything as an entrepreneur. Like, just imagine the best thing has happened. Not only does it make you feel good, it creates some really amazing endorphins for you. It takes away a lot of the fear. It can negate the fear. And think about it. We don't do any activity without our brain first thinking about it in some way, right? Like, especially those big ones. So give yourself a break and imagine it going really well, like really well. And your brain will really lower the resistance to doing this thing that you think feels uncomfortable. But yeah.
It's really interesting, because like in the beginning they would tell me like the old how they say, oh well, if you get really nervous, just look at the crowd and just picture somebody naked or in a chicken suit or something, like, but I like that though, kind of thinking of all the things that will go right, and kind of thinking more of like a positive like outlook and expectation, instead of that negative projection, so to speak.
Absolutely. I don't know, I've never done that. I feel like I would just kind of start laughing. If I was imagining people naked, like, I don't know. I know I've heard that before too, but I don't think it works. I think just like leaning in, and also remember that for your audience, they're not for you when you're up there and you see all the people, right? You're like, oh, there's all of these eyes on me. But when you're the person on the other end listening, it becomes you and the presenter, right? So the person in the audience member, they're not going, it's me and all these people. It's me and I'm listening and I'm thinking and I'm learning and I'm connecting. So if you start to kind of reframe that, instead of it being like you and all these people, it's you and this person and this person, right? Like, these are all individual people. And it can kind of, it changes that relationship with fear.
Yeah.
Changes that relationship with fear. So
I can see that. That's a good tip.
It's okay. Or they look like they're falling asleep. Guys, you never know. So I'll never do this again. I spoke at an event. It was in a bar. It was a fundraiser. That's why I participated. But it was just like not a room conducive to someone doing kind of a motivational speech. And when I walked up, so there was a musician before me. So solo artist with a keyboard and it's music. And then I'm next. So now it's loud and people are talking and they're drinking. And I knew right away, I have to get the audience, right? So, I mean, I became a mom at the age of 14 is always a great showstopper, right? Like, it gets the attention.
Yeah.
But there was this one guy, he just kept talking and talking. And I kind of talked a little louder and it still didn't get him. So I was like, okay, I'm not going to worry about that guy. I'm worried about all these other people that have tuned in. They're listening, they're paying attention. And I spoke from the heart. I shared my story. And I had a friend there with me to support me. And she was kind of standing by the guy. And when I came off the stage later, she goes, yeah, that guy, like, he talked through your whole speech. She goes, but at the end, he turns to his friend, like drink in hand, goes, man, she was a fucking powerful speaker. Oh my God. So he was listening, but he was talking, right? So you can't let your brain go like, oh, that person doesn't like me. They're not paying attention to me, right? Like, just tune that person out, right? But it's funny because you don't know. Sometimes people seem really distracted and they're actually still listening and paying attention. you know, and sometimes you'll have that. People will seem really disengaged in the audience, and they'll come up after and be like, man, like that was what I needed to hear today. And you're like, really? Because like it really didn't seem like we were like vibing. Like, okay, that's cool. I love it. Right. And again, but that's part of the like, right, that negative self-talk your brain will do. Even while you're there presenting and you're sharing your knowledge, your brain will still be like stage left going, oh, I think that person doesn't like me over there. I don't think they like me. So you can't allow that to stop you from like giving your 100%. Like just go for it. Just go for it. So
Emmanuel says, I ask people to come on the stage when they don't seem to pay attention.
I love it. That's a
Ooh,
great
I like
strategy.
that.
Yeah, that's a good one. Totally.
Put them on the spot. They'll focus then after that.
Yeah, so good.
So I know you help entrepreneurs out. So I had a question for you. What would you say is the number one problem that you see entrepreneurs, you know, having? Like, what's the number one setback or the roadblock that they're having to take their business or their public speaking or whatever they're working on to the next level?
Honestly, for a lot of people, it's fear mindset, right?
Mindset
like
issue.
Yeah, like definitely. I see, you know, we kind of, we spend like every day, we have these habits, right? You'll go brush your teeth without thinking about it, right? You go put the dog outside without thinking about it. But a lot of people don't have habits incorporated to deal with self-doubt and fear. And being an entrepreneur has been, I say this to people, it's been harder than it ever was being a teen mom, right? When you start your own business, you go from having spent your whole life being told what to do. Think about this, like our parents tell us what to do, then we start kindergarten, and from kindergarten until whenever you finish school, you're told what to do. And then if you worked in a 9-to-5 job, you're told what to do. And then one day you decide, hey, I'm going to start my own business. And there is like nobody there telling you what to do. And it just makes our brain freak out. It's like, what do I do? What do I do? Right? For me, one of the hardest habits to like unwind out of was the idea that I had to work from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. And I would like beat myself up if I didn't, right? Like if I took a break in the middle, I was like, oh, I'm being a bad employee, right? What? And just dealing with the fear and the fact that it often feels like you're on a roller coaster, right? Like one day you're like, you're getting the sales are rolling in. You're like, it's working. This is like the most amazing thing ever. And then the next day something happens. And you're like, oh, like, why did I ever start a business? Like, why did I, and sometimes it's not even day to day. Sometimes it's like 5 minutes to 5 minutes. You're like, yeah, I got it. It's working. And then something happens. Like we recently had to hire a lawyer, first time working with a lawyer. And we're like, right? So having some strategies in place to deal with the drama that's going on in your mind, right? And because for a lot of people, we're really great at negative self-talk, right? We always have like a little person on the shoulder going, like, why did you do this? You should just go give up. And sometimes it's like the voice of a friend or a parent or right. But we often don't have the cheerleader on the other shoulder going like, keep it up. You've got this, right? Keep working past the obstacles. So I just came from the mountains and I was, you know, it was interesting. I was looking at all these waterfalls and rivers flowing. And I thought to myself, in some ways as an entrepreneur, you almost need to be like water, right? Flow around the rocks. Don't bash against them. It's like my favorite question to ask myself is what's a creative solution to this? Like, how do I get around this obstacle instead of getting like bashing up against it and being like, oh, this sucks. Like this problem's not going to go away, or I wasn't expecting this, or right. So how do you move around it? And it's crazy because depending on what kind of stage of your business you're at, whether you're like, kind of what happens is you're starting out and then you hit like, you know, first 6 figures, right? And then you have like new problems, right? So it really depends on what stage of growth you're at. But it's like almost like you get to these places where your business really builds momentum. And so I was looking at these waterfalls and it was like, because we're in a like now scaling into multi 6 figures. We're hiring an operations manager, right? So it feels like you're about to fall over a waterfall, right? You just feel the momentum building and almost to the point where you're no longer, right? You're just like, you're being pushed, right? And you're going to go over the edge and you don't know what's going to happen. And I think that's where a lot of the fear comes from, because even though, you know, you're putting in all the effort and you're working, we don't really know for sure what's going to happen. And so you have to really work on just like your relationship with fear. Your relationship with fear is like probably one of the biggest things. And I see it in my mastermind all the time. We have some people that have really fast momentum because they've done more of that mindset work. And then we have other people that get like really stuck. But it's not that they don't make momentum. It just takes them a little bit longer, right? So you get these two lanes. You get people that are like rabbits and they're like, go, go, go. And they have the momentum. And then you get people that are more like the turtle lane. And they plod along a little bit more methodically, and they like to think about things a little bit more. And that's okay as long as you don't let the fear stop you, right? Like, I remember having this conversation with someone in our mastermind one day, and she was like, I feel like it's like my business is like a snowball, but something has like caused it to get stuck at the top of the hill, right? Like there's nothing to create the tip of momentum. I want it to like go over the hill. And instead it's like frozen to the top. And so for some people, that's what it's like. And so if you get stuck there and you're like, it's never going to move, I'm just going to give up, I'm going to go back to the job, why did I ever do this, right? That's where you see a lot of people really, it's disheartening for them to just completely like cave in and not keep taking, my favorite thing is bold action, one small step at a time. It doesn't have to be big steps, and it doesn't have to be perfect. Like the perfection is a coping mechanism that our brain uses to stop us from taking action. It's something that keeps us feeling safe, right? And so I see a lot of people where they don't launch their course, or they don't book their first speaking engagement because they want their talk to be perfect, right? No, that's just your fear. It's keeping you safe and comfortable. As much as it doesn't feel good, it's keeping you safe and comfortable, and you have to just be willing to have it be a little bit messy and then grow as you're learning.
I love it. Fuck fear.
Totally. Feels like a little bit of a theme tonight, hey? A little bit of a theme.
Let me see. Emmanuel says, make fear your bitch. And
like it. Yeah, totally.
Susie says, fear
right?
is sexy.
And it is. It's like, I think of anything that most of us do, like entrepreneurship will be the most fear-inducing thing. But every day you don't give up, every day you keep working at it is another day that you get to like change that relationship with your fear. And it's interesting now that I'm 3 years in and I see how much more I knew than that very first day of like launching my business, or that first website that did nothing for me. Like you're just constantly creating proof for your brain of the infinite potential of what you can create in the world, right? But you just need to be willing to give your brain a little proof. And that comes from just continuing to overcome obstacles, continuing to work through the fear, right? Continuing to have a relationship. It's not like fear goes away, guys. I still get like afraid of stuff all the time, but instead of it being in the driver's seat, it's in my passenger seat, right? Like it's here with me. And I'm like, I'm happy it's here because it can be a very activating energy, right? Like you can either stagnate and step back and become really stuck in the fear where you sleep on your couch for 3 weeks. Did that really early in my business. Or you can embrace the fear, allow it to become an activating energy that pushes you forward into taking an action that you don't feel completely comfortable with taking yet, right? And so you get to choose every day. Like, is today the day I let it like get the better of me? Or is today the day I'm friends with it and I just like take an action, any action, right? Especially when it comes to sales and marketing, because it's not easy to put ourselves out there. It's not easy to put ourselves out there. So yes. Yeah, I love it. Fear is sexy. I should, oh my gosh. You need to turn that into like a meme, a quote. You are now quotable, Susie. Yes, it is. It is. I love that so much. I'm going to have to write that down right after so I don't forget. Yeah, that's good stuff.
Yeah, somebody should coin that. All right, so I have one more question for you, and then I feel bad. I think I've hijacked that. Peter hasn't gotten one question out, but I really want to ask you this now that we're kind of on the topic. So as a startup business or as a solopreneur, entrepreneur, so let's say once they're ready to take the plunge and kind of, get more exposure and they want to get on stages, what's a good tip or some tips to help them find these stages?
Sure. Okay. So the first thing you need to do, guys, and actually there's like a whole blog post about this on our website. I could send it to Peter after, but set a goal. How many stages do you want to speak on in the next 90 days? And it can be your own or it can be someone else's. But if you don't define a goal of what you want to happen, you don't turn on the flashlight for your brain to look for the opportunities. So set the goal. Like the very first goal I ever set before I started speaking was, I think it was like I wanted 12 stages in 90 days and I ended up doing like 18 and 45, right? So set the goal. Then I literally just put a post on your Facebook page. I'm looking for stages. Here's what I speak about. Who do you know? When you're networking, instead of trying to sell people your stuff, because let's be real, people go to networking events and they're trying to sell you their stuff and you're trying to sell them their stuff. Instead of doing that, go, hey, who do you know that has a stage? I want to get in front of more people. How do I get a stage, right? So the biggest thing is do not wait for the opportunity to come to you. Okay, so that's something a lot of entrepreneurs do. They're like, okay, if we do this a lot, right? Like if then, okay, if I get enough people to like my Facebook page, then enough people are going to know who I am. They're going to start asking me to speak on stages. And I was like, yes, I agree with this, right? No more if thens. Like you put yourself out there. First of all, does your Facebook profile say you were a speaker? Because guys, if you go look at my personal profile, it says I'm a speaker. Okay, so are you letting people know you're a speaker? Are you putting yourself out there as a speaker, right? Are you talking about the fact that you're looking for speaking opportunities? Second, there are like tons of Facebook groups where people are always posting that they're looking for speakers for their podcasts. So for the ladies that are, for guys, I don't know about you, but the ladies I'll give you, there's a really large Facebook group for women entrepreneurs. It's called Women Helping Women Entrepreneurs. There are people in there every day looking for speakers on their podcasts. But you could also do Google searches. So either local or just a Google search of like speaking opportunities. You can set up, for those of you that are familiar with the tech of a Google alert, you should have Google alert set up for like speaking opportunities in your city. There are some really great, but honestly, just do a search of like podcasts you would love to be on and go look for them. Now, the other thing you can do is meetup. So meetup groups, most of them have gone from in-person to online and they're looking for speakers, right? So do a search of your local meetup groups, reach out to the organizer and say, hey, are you looking for speakers? Let them know what you present about. Tell them how it would be valuable to the people that attend their events. Because typically people that run networking events are looking for speakers, right? They don't want to be the only person speaking all the time. In fact, doing your own meetup group is a great way to establish your authority by running the event, but having other people deliver the content, just like this call here, right? Having other people deliver the content so you don't have to be the one trying to think and deliver content all the time, but you establish yourself as an authority. You have a stage. So as soon as you have a stage, other people want to know who you are, because there are so many people that want to get in front of groups of people to speak, right? So look for your local meetup groups, start your own meetup group. Guys, make your own stages. It is so easy right now with virtual. Like I said, if you decide to throw together an event and only one person shows up, that's amazing, because that one person is interested in exactly what you have to say. And that's so much different than going to a networking event where it's just a bunch of people coming together trying to sell each other their stuff, right? Like you become really targeted. The person is there because they're interested in your message and whatever the name of your event was. That person will very easily turn into a client much faster than you think, right? Plus, if only one or two people show up, it's a great way for you to get comfortable being the presenter, right? So like, it's really how you think about it. When we host our own events, we never worry about how many people showed up. Like we promote it the same way every time. And if we get 4 people that sign up, we don't cancel it. We still show up for those 4 people. We're like, those are the 4 people that were meant to be with us that day, right? So like universities, colleges often are looking for speakers. If you have a really inspirational story, you could be a great keynote speaker for graduations. I did that last year. Let's see, what else? I talked about networking events. Yeah, make the post on your Facebook group. Honestly, there's so many places to find stages. It's about set that goal, because what's going to happen is it's like your brain it's going to turn on the flashlight. It's going to look for the opportunities. It's going to start, as soon as someone makes a post about a stage or a speaking opportunity, your brain, instead of like where you normally would have scrolled, your brain's going to be, oh, wait, stop. That's one of our goals. Let's go investigate this. Let's go apply for this, right? And it will happen much faster than you think, much faster than you think.
That is excellent. Yeah, lots of golden nuggets here. Thank you so much. Peter, did you have any questions?
I have a lot, but I think you talk so.
we got to have you here again. Yeah, it's too much good stuff here.
That's okay. We'll throw one more at me. Throw one more at me.
Actually, I have to.
Okay.
I have to ask you to. I'm sorry.
Okay.
No,
Okay.
First,
I'll say if
if you
everyone
have,
else is saying.
yeah, if you have a pre-stage ritual.
Pre-stage ritual. Yes. So one, I already talked about visualization. Two, you need to warm up your tool. So your voice, your jaw, it's really important. A lot of people don't think about this, right? So as speakers, so actors do this, right? If you're going to be speaking, you need to warm up your voice, especially if you're going to be presenting for a longer time. So like my business partner and I do a 3-day event. Like if I don't warm up before, I'll lose my voice, right? So tongue twisters are a really great way to kind of like loosen. So we tend to carry a lot of stress, people like humans, in our jaw. And what happens is the muscles get really tight and it affects your enunciation, right? So your words will start to blur together a little bit at the end and the beginning. So doing some tongue twisters, a really great other little tip is like if you take the very tip of your tongue and push it up against your top teeth at the back, just for like about 30 seconds, it also helps loosen up the muscles kind of at the back of the throat and the jaw. So yeah, like warm up your muscles. And if you're feeling nervous, do something cardio. So like some jumping jacks, or if you're at a venue where they have stairs, take the stairs instead of the elevator. Anything you can do to get your heart rate accelerated, because what happens then is your brain no longer thinks it's in fear. It thinks things are pumping because you're doing some activity. So it's like a little biohack to kind of eliminate some of the fear. So like if I'm doing a call like this and I was feeling for whatever reason a little anxious, I would literally just like step around my computer and do like 5 jumping jacks, just like get it flowing, and then some deep breathing, like deep, like you're blowing up a balloon, because again, we breathe really shallow for like most of our day. And so you need to get the breath like really going so that your blood flow and circulation is going really well. Great question.
And if you have a sequence, by the way, thank you for my answer, first of all.
Yes.
If you have a sequence that you use during the speech, like during the stage, if you have like a certain thing like opening, engagement, story time, like a storyline.
Absolutely. That's a great question again, because I can't believe I haven't talked about this. So guys, I'm going to give you the simplest system. So if you've ever heard of a signature talk, right? Like you hear that in the speaking industry. So in our business, we call it a profitable signature talk, because we don't want it to be just a talk. We want it to be a profitable talk. So I'm going to give you 3 steps. A great talk, it doesn't matter if it's a Facebook Live, it doesn't matter if it's a 60 or 90-minute presentation. You're going to have a story that's going to be your opener. That's exactly what we did at the beginning of this call, right? A really great story of why you do what you do, right? Because remember, this isn't just about like a random story that happened to you like when you were 5 years old. This is a story that's going to connect you with the audience. So it could be why you do what you do, or like a really pivotal moment that got you to how you solve the problem you solve for your ideal clients, okay? Then the second step is content. Now, a really great talk, this is different because it's an interview, but a really great talk will have 3 pieces of content and nothing more, okay? Your talk is not about overwhelming people. Yes, you are an expert. Yes, you have a ton of content, but that will not take them to the path where they're ready to, because remember, people working with you, they have to make a decision, and an overwhelmed brain will not make a decision to buy. So if you overwhelm them with too much content, you're doing yourself a disservice and them a disservice. And there are a lot of people that think, I am just going to go and I'm going to give all the content, and people will be so amazed by how much I know that they are going to be ready to work with me. And that's not the case. You just overwhelm them. It's too much. I've seen it over and over again. In fact, like one of the mentors we worked with, he wasn't a speaking coach. He was a Facebook ads guy. And we kept saying to him, you're overwhelming people. You're so amazing and they should be working with you, but you're overwhelming them with the content of what you know about Facebook ads, right? Over and over again. People were not buying because they were just like, whoa, this is too much. And then number 3, you're going to have a really great offer, So depending on, it could be something free. So if you're not allowed to sell, you can make a free offer. It could be your lead magnet, right? Your freebie. It could be a call to action. So it could be join my Facebook group, right? Like these are the things you do when you're doing Facebook Live. Join my Facebook group. Go give me a like on YouTube or subscribe on YouTube, right? So anything you do should be continuing the journey, right? Don't just go. A lot of people do this when they're speaking live. They go, thank you so much for having me. It has been so amazing. Guys, I'm just going to be standing at the back of the room. If anyone wants to come talk to me, I'll be over there. And I made this mistake. I made this mistake so many times. No, you need to be like really clear. Here's the next step you can take so we can continue this journey together, right? Now, if it's your own event or if you're working with a partner where you're allowed to sell at their event, then you would do your signature offer. So whatever that offer is, if you're doing a 60 to 90 minute talk, you could do an offer for your paid product up to about $2,000. Once you're really experienced and really comfortable with selling from stage, 2,000 is kind of like the max in a 60 to 90 minute talk. Most people would do like 197, 297, or 497 is kind of what you see, sometimes 997 for people that are really experienced speakers. But absolutely, you could sell like a 297, 497 product in a 60 to 90 minute talk, right? And for those of you that have been on webinars, you've probably seen this happen. So now you know exactly what people are doing. You can start funnel hacking their webinars. So they're gonna open with a story. They're gonna give you like 3 pieces of content, and they're gonna give you some type of call to action or offer at the end. You'll see it over and over again. Now, when you go into more advanced techniques, there's a couple other little pieces peppered in there, but I don't have time to tell you guys all of them. But that's, if you start with those 3 foundational pieces, it will set you light years ahead of what most people are doing as speakers, because they're either telling way too much story or way too much content, and they have no call to action or offer at the end. Nothing. They're just like, come if, and don't use the word if, you guys. Don't make it conditional. I hate when I hear speakers say if this calls to you. No. Like, I know someone here is meant to work with me. So here's what you do next. Here is the next step. Let's do this, right? Let's go for this. Please don't say if. It doesn't make anyone feel special, because then they're saying, well, am I interested in what this person just right? Like, maybe I'm not. Like, no, like, go for it. Be like, yes, I know someone here is meant to work with me. So there you
awesome.
Go. Story content offer every time.
Speaking of that, actually, was there anything that you're currently working on that maybe some folks on the call here, you know, if they want to dive deeper with you, they could look into
you guys,
that?
okay, so I've been talking over and over again about my 3-day event. So we're actually running it virtually, July 10th to 12th. So you can be online, you can do it from the comfort of your home. And a lot of the things I've talked with you about here, we deep dive. So we actually teach you the business model behind what we're doing. So you start with a really great profitable signature talk, but how do you then use it to, like, in your business to get those clients on repeat, right? Like, how do you systemize this strategy? How do you get them more stage? And we give you a more in-depth training on how to get on stages. We actually give you a super secret script that you can use on your Facebook that has worked 100% of the time for our event attendees. So it's called Profitable Speaker Bootcamp. And I would love to gift all of you guys a free ticket. So it's normally $197 to attend. So hang on, let me see, because I think let me grab the link for you and I'll drop it in there, because I always want to make things easy for you.
That'd be great.
And you're going to use the code, hang on, let's just see, it's PSBGMM in the coupon code area, and that will take your ticket, so it's a regular ticket for the 3-day event, to $0. So you get to be, it's not only me, but it's my co-founder, Kat. So guys, Kat, like I said, Kat alone sold over $1 million in products and services from stage. She gets contract hired by other coaches to sell their signature offers from stage. So she's sold at events all over North America, and she's a tech nerd. So for me, like, mindset is my jam. She's a total tech nerd. So like, you start getting her going about ClickFunnels and ActiveCampaign. Oh my gosh. So together we bring a really complete package for you at bootcamp. And it's really about, I love it because our attendees often go, they're like, I thought I was coming to a public speaking seminar, but this was so much more. So you're going to leave like feeling like, you know, you've got like a really concrete piece, and we like get you to work on your profitable signature talk. Like, and we're really passionate about it because Kat and I have both been to events where that's their promise, and then they don't actually deliver on the promise. We're like, no, like, you're going to work on these pieces, that story content offer. You're going to have an understanding of like, what story is the story you should start using? What is the content you can like focus in on for those 3 pieces? And then what's a great starting offer, right? So yeah, I would love to see some of you there. It would be amazing. So July 10th to 12th.
You're going to see us for sure. There's almost zero doubt about that.
Awesome.
Especially
Awesome.
we have
Yeah,
like
that's
Susie,
amazing.
she's also a speaker, and Emmanuel has like it's kind of funny because he has also his fuck fear signature, and he was
Yeah.
like, no, somebody else has it. I should do this diligence of
Love it.
but
Yeah.
I
No,
say
it's
I
okay.
say that this is like a good thing, because for me it's like the way I say it is like there's a lot of people that have this fear of public speaking, and I think one of the things is like it's powerful. I think for me it's like I personally I'm afraid. First of all, my English is not the best one. It's the third language is not even the second. And for me, it's like kind of hustling sometimes of trying to put words together. But
Yes.
at the end of the day, like, hey, if I can do it, and I can find a way to do this, there's a
Yeah.
lot of people they can do it.
Yeah,
There's no
you know
doubt.
what? It's really interesting. My business partner, Kat, so she's actually from Russia. And when she moved to
Oh,
Canada after high school, she only knew about 150 words of English.
wow.
Right. And she still has an accent. There are still some words that she really struggles with. And sometimes when we're having business meetings, she's like, I have to think about how I need to say this to you. Right. So absolutely. Like if you can do it, anyone can do it. And don't ever let that stop, guys. Like don't ever let anything stop you from what you really want to create in the world. Like don't let anything stop you. Like we really are, like we have infinite potential. And so just don't accept any crap your brain is trying to tell you about why you can't achieve the things you want to achieve. Like anything's achievable. Anything.
That's amazing. No, and thank you so much again for being here. Thoroughly enjoyed this. We have one more question. Do we have time for just one more question?
Sure. I'm in.
All right, awesome. Appreciate it. I know we tend to go a little over, but I'm trying to get better at cutting it to an hour. But so last question is, how did you get on the bestseller? Any suggestions? And are you open for collaborating?
Yes, I'm always open for collaborating, guys. So my email, it's kim@profitableimpactacademy.com. And I know Peter has it, so he could even send it out. I'm totally cool with that. I love collaborating. I love building joint venture partnerships as how you get to where you want to go faster as an entrepreneur. Absolutely. How did I get on the international best-selling list? So I'm actually the book I am in is a collaboration book. There is a strategy behind how you become a #1 bestseller. So if you're wanting to do a book on your own, I really recommend, and I know a couple people I could put you into contact with, again, that know that strategy. Everything's a tactic until you have the strategy behind it, right? So there's a really specific strategy if you want to become a bestseller of how many copies are sold in the first 12 to 24 hours. And so when you're in a collaborative book, so like, you have like a whole chapter of your own in a book with say 12 to 16 other people, you have the collective of people to help accelerate that number in that first kind of 24 hours to hit those bestseller lists. And you have to hit bestseller. If you want to do international, it has to be on Amazon.com and Amazon.ca. Otherwise, if you do it on one and not the other, then you could either be like, best-selling or international best-selling. So, but yeah, again, I don't have time to go behind the whole strategy. And that's not my specialty. I know the strategy, but that's not my jam. But I could connect you with some people if that's something you're looking at. But it is, honestly, it's not that hard. It's not that anything in business is not that hard if you have a good strategy that's like easy to replicate, right? So yeah, but it's such a cool experience. It was so exciting because it's like go for like 12 hours. You're just like reaching out to her like buy the book, it's live. It's so exciting. And then when you hit that, right, you get that goal and you get that back, and then they reprint the book with like the bestseller logo on the front. It's so much fun. It's so cool, but it's also like fear-inducing to put your story out in the world that way, right? Like fear-inducing and exciting and fun. It's always a scale. So yeah, it's really cool. That's a good question. I love it.
That's
If
awesome.
if anybody has anything to say, this is the moment. We don't want to hold Kimberly for the longest all night long. We know we have questions, but You know, if
Guys,
anybody has any questions.
I'll do an open invitation. If you have any questions, just email me. Like I'm
Okay.
happy to. We
Okay.
can set up a
So
quick
there you go.
20-minute call.
No.
I'm happy to do that with you. Although I don't have any, I don't have any call times available to August, but I'm happy to answer email questions. I can do that very, very easily. If
Okay.
you have
Awesome.
something that,
Sounds
you know,
good.
sometimes your brain assimilates the information and then the question pops after. So that's totally cool. I'm happy to do that. Guys, thank you so much for being here live. I really appreciate it
Thank
so
you.
much.
Thank you. You're gonna hear from us for sure next week because we have some stuff to ask you. But you know, I'm cooperative, of course. You know,
Yes,
but thank you very much for accepting the invitation. First of
love it.
all, thank you very much for joining for the great
Yes.
content
Thank you
that
for
we have
having me.
we
Thank
have
you.
inside.
Thank you.
And I think it is amazing to see you again. First of all, because
Thank
you
you.
know, like last time it was like it was
Yeah, it was a
so much
webinar you saw
pressure.
me on,
Yeah,
right? Yeah, it
so
was just
much
me
pressure.
talking at you for an
Yeah,
hour. Yeah.
I thought was the guy with the most questions. I think that
Oh,
uh,
good. I love
Wu
it.
Wu was the I forgot her name. I think Wu the
Oh, Quinn might have been the host. I think Quinn
yeah,
was hosting
yeah.
that one for Iman.
She was like, "Stop asking questions. I cannot ask you all."
Oh, yeah,
I
yeah.
was like,
We're
"Okay,
out of
fine."
time. We're out of time. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
In
but
that format, you often don't, you only get like 40,
it
45
was
minutes.
good. I had to.
Mhm.
It was for me. It was like a must. It was not an option.
Yeah.
It's good to learn. So it's always good to learn, and it's always good to learn and to be part of like something greater. And we're
Yes.
always looking
Thank
to have
you.
great people like yourself and
Thank
to
you.
know where we can reach for answers. So
Yes. Love it.
thank you very
Thank
much.
you so much, you guys. I
Thank
appreciate
you.
it.
Thank
Happy
you.
Father's Day to the dads. Enjoy the rest of your day,
Thank
guys. I
you.
look forward to seeing some of you at boot camp and connecting with you
Absolutely.
soon.
You're gonna
Thank,
see
thank
us.
you so
Bye.
much for the offer and for the talk. We appreciate it.
Yeah, you
Thank
bet.
you.
Hey,
Thank
have a
you.
great
Thank
night.
you.
All right,
Bye.
guys.
Thank you.
Have a good night,
I'll be at the
everyone.
boot camp.
Bye. Thank you.
Absolutely, guys. So we'll see you there at the boot camp and for next Sunday for our next Zoom call. And happy Father's Day once again. You guys have an awesome week. Thank you so much.
Yeah, let's rock it.
Let's do it.
Yeah.
Later, guys.
Take care.